Welcome back to Lion Recaps. Today I will show you an American action thriller film from 2016, titled The Last Heist. A group of burglars decides to rob a bank that is about to close because $100 million is kept in one of the safes at the start of the film. The crook's van is currently parked outside the bank, waiting for the driver to give the order to exit and begin the heist. However, he catches a glimpse of a well-groomed man on the sidewalk holding a large bag and donning a pair of black sunglasses. After pausing and giving the motorist a suspicious 5-second look, the man continues walking and enters the bank. The stranger, who later reveals himself to be a reverend, asks the clerk if he can put something in his safe. He tells him that the bank is closing and is requesting that all of its clients empty their safes. If they fail to do so, the federal authorities will seize their property and get in touch with them later. The Reverend claims he wants to pick up everything right away and doesn't appear to want to deal with the federal authorities. Mrs. Waxman, a furious client, and the bank manager go in and order the Reverend to wait while pointing to Cynthia, the person who had been waiting for her turn for hours. After approaching Cynthia and removing his sunglasses, the Reverend persuades her to give up her seat by glaring at her sternly. The robbers exit the van while hiding their identities by donning skeleton masks, grabbing their weapons, and exiting. Before they take the prisoners hostage and break into the bank, Cynthia hides a phone. After counting the hostages, the thieves notice that 2 of them are missing from the room. The clerk leads the Reverend to his safe. When the latter requests to be let go because his belongings are exceedingly private, the clerk replies that regulations forbid it. Soon later, he hears gunshots upstairs, and the clerk immediately goes to investigate. When the Reverend is left alone, he opens the safe, which only has jars of human eyes inside. The man in question is Bernard, also known as Window, a legendary serial murderer who steals the eyes of his victims and gives them to God since eyes are like windows to the soul. The clerk follows the robbers as they flee, and their employer, Paul, recognizes him as his brother Danny. Paul retracts his mask and apologizes to Danny. The other robbers remove their masks after he informs them that the bank turned off the surveillance cameras a week earlier. To free the final captive and open the safe containing the $100 million, one of them, Tracy, goes to the vault. The hostages are taken to another room by 2 other people, Allie and AJ, who watch over them. At the conclusion of the robbery, AJ learns that Allie and Tracy plan to kill every hostage, despite the fact that Paul had indicated that he did not want any victims. After the 2 leave, Danny asks Cynthia for her phone and texts for assistance to 911. Danny is able to put the phone away covertly as AJ and Allie re-enter the space. Detective Pascal is tasked with going to the neighborhood bank to find out how things are doing as everyone else in town orders tacos from a street vendor. In the end, Tracy opens the safe, gathers all the money in a bag, and calls Paul. When she returns, she discovers the missing captive Bernard, who had been hiding in an air vent after hearing a strange noise as she left the vault. Bernard proposes that because he has gathered all of his possessions, the woman should let him leave. But Tracy examines the man's bag out of curiosity. She freezes in agony at the sight of so many human eyes, and Bernard seizes the chance to attack her. Bernard slashes the arteries in Tracy's arm and informs her that she has 9 minutes to live despite her attempts to fight back. Rick, the van's driver, spots Pascal's police car and another patrol car approaching the bank while he is still outside keeping an eye on the road. Paul receives the warning and hides the masks and guns. Paul answers the door while posing as the bank manager and tells the investigator and the 2 police officers that they are closing and that there is not a robbery going on. Despite the fact that she needs the warrant to enter and that she does not buy Paul's explanation, the woman snaps a photo of him, mails it to the police, and leaves to go to Rick's van. The detective notices the driver hiding his drug use and tells him to leave the van. Tracy steals the gun from the vault and attempts to shoot Bernard, but he is now completely helpless, thus the shot is missed. The detective is distracted as he hears gunshots coming from the bank. In a panic, Rick uses the opportunity to get away. Paul lets him in by opening the door. Rick reaches for the gun to fend off the police, but she shoots him in the chest instead. Paul brings Rick inside to treat him while admonishing the bald comrade Briggs that it's time for Plan B, to operate the upstairs elevator and enter a hidden exit, as the 2 comrades shoot the police. While Tracy bleeds to death, Bernard slashes out her eyes and flees. When Briggs encounters AJ and Allie as she descends the stairs and alerts them to Rick's predicament, the latter woman immediately recognizes that Danny was the one who made the police call. Briggs then ascends to the second floor, takes an axe from his rucksack, and begins hammering on the front wall to reveal the elevator. When Paul descends inside the bank vault, he discovers Tracy's lifeless body on a table. He informs the others that the hostage who is still missing is the one who killed her and is currently attempting to flee through the vents. Paul informs Allie that they don't have much time, so they must take the money and flee. Allie suggests that they track down Bernard and kill him. Mrs. Waxman needs to use the restroom in the captive room and persuades Allie to accompany her. Her companion, Washington, questions Paul about what transpired between him and his brother below. When they were young, he says, they were close and happy, but when they enlisted in the army, their paths diverged. Allie is waiting outside the restroom for Mrs. Waxman in the meantime, but she realizes that she hasn't emerged. When the woman opens the door, she finds the woman dead, sitting on the toilet without any eyes, and the killer also inside the bathroom vent. Allie believes the man is hiding in one of the restrooms, but when she is unable to locate him, she chooses to join AJ. However, as she leaves, Bernard grabs her by the shoulders, knocks her to the ground, and then stabs her in the chest, instantly killing her. AJ asks Danny what Allie is up to as he hears noises coming from the air duct and wonders what she might be doing. Meanwhile, the bank is surrounded by numerous police vehicles. When Paul asks Briggs and AJ for an update, AJ responds that Allie has likely been killed and has not come back from the bathroom. In order to allow the investigator to hear the thieves' conversations, one of the police officers dialed into the walkie-talkie frequency they were using. Hearing AJ and Paul's chat, the woman learns that the thieves are housed in the same prison as the serial killer she has been looking for years. Desperate, Paul exits the bank unarmed and requests a polite discussion with the detective. She nods her head and inquires as to the total number of hostages and thieves. In response to her inquiries, Paul orders her to deliver a school bus and a doctor for Rick within the next 2 hours. Paul threatens to shoot the hostages if they don't comply. Even though she is aware that he was a soldier in the past, the investigator admits that he does not seem like the kind of person who would kill. The woman says her husband was also a soldier but perished in an explosion in Baghdad, while Paul claims to have served in the Corps. The investigator admits to Paul that she finds it puzzling why people who have survived wars like his do not go on to lead better lives as opposed to engaging in criminal activity. The woman eventually agrees to Paul's offer, and he promises to give her and her squad the captives in exchange. To give her an update on the situation, Detective Pascal commands 2 police officers to enter via the window behind the bank. Paul goes back to the bank and tells Washington to ready the hostages and join AJ on the second floor. Washington persuades Danny to calm Rick down so that the doctor can treat him when he gets there. Because they are concerned that they may lose out, the detective and her employer are fighting about how straightforward Paul's request is in the meantime. They are interrupted by a sizable black van from which a DoD squad that SWAT had requested emerges. Sinclair, the team's head, claims to have been attempting to apprehend Paul for years. He responds that there is $100 million in cartel money in the vault when Detective Pascal inquires as to what he is trying to steal given that the bank is closing. Smith, one of Sinclair's guys, enters the bank to heal Rick. Smith is a doctor. He's recognized by Paul, who holds him hostage upstairs. In exchange, he takes Cynthia and Rick and gives them to the police. Smith is bound to the chair by AJ, who advises him to remain motionless if he doesn't want to perish. A short while later, Bernard approaches from the room's shaft. Before it's too late, Smith begs AJ to shoot him, but he hesitates out of fear. All of them, according to Bernard, are sinners, and he recognized he had to gather the most souls after hearing God's voice. And he accomplishes this by removing his own victim's eyes. As Bernard is going to be shot, AJ is loading his rifle. In the meantime, Bernard is simply another hostage in the eyes of Sinclair's sniper Chen, who is perched above the structure in front of the bank and is aiming at AJ. As AJ prepares to fire, a bullet enters his skull, killing him and leaving Bernard and Smith in the room alone. Along with the detective, Sinclair and his partner Jones broke into the bank. Washington is killed by one of the troops when everyone starts shooting. When the firing stops, Sinclair queries Paul about whether he took all of the money. Paul explains to the investigator that Sinclair is also a member of the cartel because she does not understand what is happening. After turning on the elevator, Briggs hears the gunshots and moves toward Paul. However, he comes to Smith's eyeless, lifeless body in the following room. The latter tries to tell Briggs to leave, but he lacks the strength to communicate. Briggs gets struck with an axe by Bernard after he emerges from behind. The detective places Sinclair under custody in the main room and orders her not to interfere. The two police officers the detective sent arrive from above, but Jones kills them right away. Paul uses his diversion as an opportunity to strike him and murder him. When the manager spots a weapon nearby, he tries to take it to defend himself, but Sinclair promptly kills him. He tries to persuade her to divide the money even though the detective threatens to shoot him if he does not drop the weapon. When she refuses, Chen surprises her from behind and shoots her. Danny and Paul are the only people still alive, and they are aware that they will lose to Chen and Sinclair. Paul offers to give up, but Sinclair kills him after apologizing. With her last bit of power, the detective shoots Sinclair and kills Chen as they are going to shoot Danny as well. But he pulls through and makes it upstairs, where he runs into the dead and blind Smith, AJ, and Briggs. Danny uses scissors to free himself, then he grabs the detective's gun and pursues Sinclair in an effort to murder him. The latter uses the elevator to sneak into the vault. He encounters the murderer while searching for a way out, who beats him, knocks him to the ground, and stabs him. In spite of Sinclair's best efforts to shoot him, Bernard manages to flee, leaving him all by himself with a knife lodged in his shoulder. When Danny reaches the vault, Bernard surprises him and pushes him to the ground. Danny grabs the knife, stabs the serial murderer in the throat, and ends his life for good. Sinclair has located the exit and is about to go without incident, but Danny stops him from behind and shoots him in the forehead before Sinclair can react. Now that he has exacted revenge for his brother's death and stopped the serial killer from carrying out more killings, Danny feels content. Nevertheless, he is unaware that the window killer has returned and is standing behind him, shocking him by slashing him in the shoulder. He is killed by being thrown to the ground by Bernard, who then removes his eyes and puts them in one of his jars. The window killer has now amassed more souls and returns home with $100 million, safe and sound. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.